We won't let another day go by without learning about the 18th and 19th king of northern Israel. We will come across one of our favorite prophets who writes about the Messiah. And after this video, we will remember some things that happened in the Middle East during the 700s BC. So this is Anthony at the Periodic Table of History. Welcome and thank you for being here. We're going to get into the history of Pekahiah and Pekah. Now, in the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekahiah, the son of Menahem, began to reign over Israel in Samaria and reigned 2 years. That was after his father Manasseh, that previous video that we just looked at. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. So there we have another problem with the 2 golden calves that Jeroboam I set up in northern Israel at Bethel and Dan. This is still going on and still a problem down into the 700s BC. But Pekah, the son of Remaliah, a captain of his, conspired against him and smote him in Samaria, in the palace of the king's house, with Argob and Ariah, and with him 50 men of the Gileadites. And he killed him and reigned in his room. So Gileadites, that is a very interesting word right there. So these would be very powerful political figures. And we have yet another assassination. The opposing party is gone, or so they think. Actually, we'll find out that there's another conspirator inside the palace right there. But it seems that Pekah has a great following in Gilead, while Pekahiah is the king of the city of Samaria. So the idea of creating other power centers is gaining ground, and this explains an overlapping reign of Pekahiah and Pekah. So assassinations have always been taught and performed in this region, and so this is nothing new to the people at the time. Pekah was teaching the next king how Pekah would be treated. See, we don't think that we're teaching the next people how we should be treated, but we are. Well, the Gileadites are interesting. They're a mixture of Gad, the Reubenites, and the Manasseites. And the Manasseites were a pretty big group that went across the Jordan. You know, they were east of the Jordan. And then also Reuben and Gad. But it makes sense since they are mixing, since they had been attacked by Damascus and pushed in to Israel proper on the west side of the Jordan. You know that now as they're expanding back into the east side of the Jordan, they're expanding back in as refugees that are going back to their land, and they're going to be coalescing, and now they're referred to as Gileadites instead of Gadites, Reubenites, and Manasseites. So that makes a lot of sense how this is transpiring in the history. So let's look at them on the map, because that always makes our brains excited for new adventures and giving us good information on how to understand this information. We're going to zoom in here to the Middle East, and that big red, yellowish with the red line around it, that's Assyria. That is bumping up here in northern Israel, with Manasseh having expanded out all the way to the border of Assyria. There's the border of Assyria, so we can put a explosion point right there. We'll zoom in a little bit more. See here I have Gilead on the map, because remember from the attacks from Hazael and Ben-Hadad, the Israelites are pushed into this more narrow central section and away from the east side of the Jordan here. But now they have the capability to expand back out. We don't hear about the Moabites or the Edomites that much, so they might be getting incorporated into this land as well, just a little bit. But there is Gilead, and who says that Samaria should have the kingship all the time? Well, you know, it's where the palace is and everything, so if you want political power, you go there, which is what Pekah did. But that tells us a lot about the geopolitical situation that is going on. Let's normalize that, and then we can see that there's an interface point right up here. And Damascus is now working with northern Israel instead of against it. They start seeing that they're having a really big problem, and Assyria is right there on the horizon. And there's Israel. And there's huge Assyria coming up on them. Gilead. And just to call out those tribes of Israel, we have Manasseh that was out here on the east of Jordan, pushed in, and then is expanding back out. And then Reuben and Gad. So that's why it makes sense that they are all combining together. And the rest of the acts of Pekahiah and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel. And we have Edwin Thiel's theory about this is that we have partial rule between Pekah, a general, and then Pekahiah, the son of Manasseh, during this 750s, 740s, and 730s BC. And I showed you that divided nature of Israel at this time, and we can see that there's probably this different geographical structure because we have that Gileadites mentioned. And now we're talking about Pekah. He's the captain general that now became king. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. He departed not from the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. So, next king, next political faction that wants to do well, he's still worshiping the same demonic situation away from Jehovah just as before. So, the one thing they can't get right is to get right back to the core and come out of that and worship Jehovah. Now, I told you earlier in the video that we were going to come across one of our favorite prophets, and that one of our favorite prophets pops up at this time. You might guess this prophet, but try to guess it in your mind. He's associated with Judah, and Judah is outside the boundaries of Samaria proper. Judah is in the south, Samaria is in the north. The Second Kings Chronicle is written to us in the perspective of Samaria, northern Israel, and so this is going to be, I'll just give it away. Isaiah, he's associated with Judah in the south, so he's kind of an outsider compared to this story. But we can jump into the book of Isaiah and then see Isaiah as an insider looking out at northern Israel. So no wonder there's an assassination that's going on. The two armies in the north, Damascus and North Israel, are going to tromp down and try to overtake Jerusalem, Judah in the south. It's crazy stuff when I am looking at this. Yeah, so we're going to end up seeing that there's this mysterious king, this mysterious Assyrian king that starts popping up in the story. We'll see him in just a little bit. But do you see how scrambled the politics is? I think it's crazy. But, well, let's go on and meet our prophet here. And it came to pass in the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, the king of Judah, see, in the south, that Rezin, the king of Syria, and Pekah, the son of Remaliah, king of Israel, went up towards Jerusalem to war against it, but could not prevail against it. Problems. And it was told the house of David, saying, Syria is confederate with Ephraim, and his heart was moved, and the heart of his people, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. Yeah, so there's Isaiah. Pretty amazing. Why do we find this out in Isaiah? Well, it's because he's an eyewitness. Isn't that awesome? See, we can place Isaiah with these kings in history. And we have archaeology and everything that goes right along with this, and we'll get into some of that archaeology. But he's an eyewitness. So we can read Isaiah as a historical book of him looking from Jerusalem out and seeing what's going on with the Gileadites and Samaria and Assyria and Damascus. Ephraim is a little bit north, so I'll just point that out. It's nice to know that Ephraim is a little bit north, and then we have that, just the phrase in Isaiah about Ephraim Because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, let us go up against Judah and vex it, and let us make a breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabiel. So we go down. You can read that. You can pause the video, remember, at any time, and read the script or look in the record, primary literature. And the head of Ephraim, verse 9, is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah, son. If ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. We have Damascus and Samaria mentioned there. Isaiah is there witnessing the fall of Damascus. So let's continue and let us look at the mystery found in Isaiah in this section, because there's a mystery that comes up here. The mystery is in verse 14. After a sign, what kind of a sign shall we see? Isaiah is going to give the king of the south the sign, and then he says, no, I'm not going to test God. So therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. So it's from this, it's about maybe 735 down to 732-ish BC. It's from this time period that we get a prophecy. Just think about 735 BC and then go all the way down to Jesus. That is something like 30 AD. So about 765 years before Messiah comes, we see this prophecy in Isaiah about Emmanuel. And this is something that when you get around Christmas time, they quote this scripture all the time. It's a prophecy about Messiah in the future. Well, it is God showing Israel something, and isn't it right, very confirming to us now? You know that all these people in 700 BC are going to be dead before they see this prophecy fulfilled. Anyway, in 15, butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings. So whatever that is, whatever land that is, see, we're thinking this prophecy is forward, because whatever kings they're talking about here are gone when this prophecy is fulfilled. And he's saying that right in Isaiah. So we know that's not for this time. It's for sometime. And have you ever had honey butter? I mean, that stuff is delicious. You got to try it sometime. Just that you're in your kitchen, mix up some honey and some butter. Just do it a little bit in a little dish. Got to see how delicious that is. So in the grand finale of this Isaiah text, our attention is brought back to a mysterious king of Assyria. The Lord shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon thy father's house days that have not come, from the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. Well, who is that mysterious Assyrian king? Well, we do know the Assyrians did come, and they did attack Damascus, and they killed Rezin, the king of Damascus. So now whenever this happened, the king who is defeated has to pledge allegiance to the victorious king. And what that does in this case is now the resources of Damascus are under the control of the mysterious Assyrian king, okay, against northern Israel. So if Israel thought it could win the war before, now it has even less of a chance to win the war. Damascus is now with Assyria. And we find out by reading an Assyrian pavement in archaeology about this. We're gonna reveal the mystery of Tiglath-Pileser III. See, there was a miserable betrayal, and we see it in the archaeology in the pavement. But well, I guess there's a betrayal in the Bible also. For Pekah, okay, we're back to that captain general that becomes king. Pekah, the son of Remaliah, slew in Judah 120,000 in one day, which are all valiant men, because they had forsaken the Lord God of their fathers. Okay. Wow. So there's that confederation with Pekah against Judah. Judah is weakened. Northern Israel is weakened. Now, Damascus is in the hand of Assyria, and now we have an archaeologist, George Smith. He wrote down a pavement inscription from Tiglath-Pileser III, our mystery Assyrian king, and it was from Nineveh, and we have the translation of it. It says the land of Bit Humuriah, and that is like land Omri. The land of Bit Humuriah, all of its people to Assyria I carried out. Pekah their king I killed, and Hoshea as king I appointed over them. 10 talents of gold and a bunch of talents of silver with their property I received from them, and to Assyria I carried them off. See, so this is Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria talking about what he did. And do you notice some things there? It talks about Omri there. It's talking about, Omri and Ahab, they set up Samaria. So when we understand that from one of the previous videos, then we can understand this, that Assyria knows Israel not by the name of Israel, but as the land of the house of Omri and Samaria. See, so that seeing house of Omri in there, it confirms Omri once again. This is archaeology at work. We can recognize through this pavement that the interpretation has been copied down, the script and the interpretation, and that it says Tiglath-Pileser III is setting up Hoshea. Now that's Hoshea against Pekah. So there's a conspiracy that went on inside Israel against Israel. See, the politics inside Samaria must have been just so cutthroat. So, and in Scripture, we see a description of this just briefly. Hoshea assassinated Pekah. Now that's in 2 Kings 15:30. It says, and Hoshea the son of Elam made a conspiracy against Pekah the son of Remaliah, and smote him, and slew him, and reigned in his stead, in the 20th year of Jotham the son of Uzziah. Another conspiracy. There's another assassination. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon and Abel, Beth Menahem, and Jonah, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, in the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. Therefore, there is some amazing archaeology in this story. It's amazing geopolitically, and then it's amazing for the archaeology. There's until Barsip, Syria, there's a wall painting. So remember that Tiglath-Pileser has now taken over Damascus. Now he orders that they write on the wall, paint on the wall, and make sculptures and stuff of him. And so we have one of those there in Syria. And see, here it is. Tiglath-Pileser is there on the throne, and it shows also his son, Shalmaneser V. He comes up next. This gives us some archaeology there of both of those kings. This wall painting is incredible. And now we don't hear very much about the queens. Have you ever noticed that? It's just like king, 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 king. It's like, where's the women and all? Well, we know that the queen at this time, her name is Laba, and we have her jewelry. The archaeologists, they found her burial tomb, and they found all this jewelry here, and they found a couple of skeletons. They wonder about that. Supposedly there's supposed to be like 3 skeletons there, and there's 2, and whatever. But archaeology is always trippy like that. But look at that beautiful jewelry. I mean, we're talking about from 2025, and then you go all the way back to this year. This destruction of Damascus was 732 BC. So we're talking right around that time. This queen is wearing that jewelry, and we also have the depiction of this siege. Because isn't it interesting to get some of this information? Look at this wall carving where we have the ladders over here, and we have army people with shields and their spears going up the ladder to get onto the city or the city walls, or getting above this. And then look at the so there's one strategy. It's like one type of military unit. And then we have the siege works over here that is smashing the wall, and look at how it's smashed into the city, and the city walls are broken. See that whatever they're doing, there's this poles or something sticking out from that siege work. So that's amazing. Those spears might be, this huge spear, like they have the spears over the guys with the ladder, but these are going to be, something that can smash up the bricks. And then look at all those people hanging. I mean, that's just, like this is not good time to, get all chopped up. But then look at these archers over here. So you have heavy archers with siege works, with the militia, and that's the depiction of how they took over this thing. And then you have the dead bodies, and then all these dead bodies down below that, Assyria took some hits, but then the other guys put some hits also. So the depictions in archaeology are just aren't those, it's kind of like we say, hey, our brains kind of turn off when we say, oh, this ancient stuff, who cares? But they were actually trying to show a picture, like Israel wrote down, but the Assyrians wrote down also, and then they had all these wall carvings, and they give us a very insightful picture. And so let's go back to our geography again, because if we look in that scripture, we have, let's go to in verse 29, 2 Kings 15:29, we can see a lot of geographical places. And instead of just skipping those, let's understand them. So that's what we'll do right now. So I'll point out here that we have the Israel there. I'm going to take Gilead off. And then we want to learn about these geographical locations, because we've heard of Ijon as Tel El Kari, and then Abel Beth Makkah, Janoah, Kadesh, Hazor, Gilead. Now notice the attack point. It's down this way, and we need to zoom up into this so we could just see how despicable it would be if you were in the army at this time, trying to defend your own land. We're going to fly over the Sea of Galilee. When we come up here, let's rearrange the map and fly in so that we're going through the valley. See all that beautiful farmland in there? Okay. Now let's take a peek up and over. So the first place that's mentioned is Ijon Tel El Kari, and there it is. Can we flatten that? Yeah, we can. See, so Assyria is that big old square pyramid thing. That's, their army. That's their enormous amount of land. They're touching Manasseh, sets them off. They start coming in, but they're coming in right down this valley. They're going, we're going to kill everything in our pathway. And they have just subjugated all this stuff up here, so they've reached the Mediterranean. At this point, they're coming down. They first come to Ijon Tel El Kari. See those mountains? Yeah, look at the mountains in the background. I'm going to click over that. That's beautiful, isn't it? All that farmland. So the water is going to run off those mountains and run down here into this very fertile valley. But the army is just tromping down. How would you go up? Now, just the armies form a stronghold against Assyria now that they have taken this area. So the Israeli army is right here, and they're just like, get away, we're getting crushed over here. So they back up, and they back up to Abel Beth Makkah, and then they're like, nah, let's go over to this other stronghold. Maybe we can throw rocks, on the people. We'll get a little bit higher and throw down. No, they're overwhelmed with us. We don't know what to do. Okay, let's get out of this valley. Let's go over here. Maybe we can throw spears at them as they come up over the ridge or something, and the Assyrian army is just like tromping right through this valley. So then, bam, the Assyrian army, they hit Hazor. Bam, Hazor is gone. And then what does the scripture tell us? See, if you're in the army, you're just like, we're all the way to the Sea of Galilee. What do we do? Just run out here. We're getting killed. What do we do? So then, Tiglath-Pileser smashes through here. Takes Galilee, and that's like the northern region of Israel. It's where Jesus grew up. So this time is horrific for Israel. You are getting beaten back again. And just imagine if you knew the geopolitics that were involved. It was Hoshea from inside the palace that called on Tiglath-Pileser to come and tromp through this area, that they were vulnerable, and then caused a lot of this destruction to happen. So when you have too many kings in one place, it does not turn out well for your people. And now let's get some good perspective on those kings. I'm going to turn on the king so we can view them. Tiglath-Pileser III, the capital there is Nineveh. And we have all these kings that are taken out. We're going to de-confuse ourselves from them. Now let's go over on this other way. We'll go to this direction so we can see all of them. I mean, they're quite a bunch, right? I mean, they're just, you know, we could get confused. And remember, there's Pekah and Pekahiah. I mean, that name is almost the same. But when we get all these guys together, we see something like this. You can remember Tiglath-Pileser is there in the background. He wins. And what does he do? Okay, Rezin. He comes down here. Rezin is gone. Pow. Oh, let's get Gilead off of there. Pekah kills Pekahiah. So, man, they're gone. You know, these guys try to kill Azariah. They do an attack on Jerusalem. Azariah, you know, and then we have Hoshea. We have Hoshea that's left, and Hoshea has this conspiracy with Pekah. So now Pekah dies, and we're left with Hoshea. And let me zoom out. Yeah, okay. Oh, this is going to turn on me. So there, we'll do this. Okay, Rezin gone, Pekah gone, Pekahiah gone. Azariah ends up, you know, dying. His son takes over, you know, and so then we have Hoshea left, and then we have Tiglath-Pileser left. And let's take one quick peek at now our new land of Assyria. This is how everything shakes out for the land of Assyria. They do very, very well. Yeah, they take over all this land. So now if Israel thought that it was going to be able to expand out to that Fertile Crescent, now the Fertile Crescent is starting to look like completely like it is Assyria's, and this is gonna usher in this great expansion of Assyria. And let me see, out of the kings we have, yeah, all we have left are Hoshea and Tiglath-Pileser III left. And then Judah is all on its own right there. Ooh, so that is gonna get bad. It's gonna get real. Whew, scary times. Scary times. Could you have lived through that? I don't know. But doesn't that make a whole lot of sense? You know, Israel or Assyria is expanding down while Israel trying to go up. Israel does this misstep, very incompetent decision making, and then totally collapses all the way back. Just bow. And you know what is very interesting about this time? I'll do one more thought. One more thought. Is that okay? It has to do with the Greeks and everything. Do people just let you kill them? Now there ends up being a whole lot of refugees. And where do the refugees go? Let's see. So all these taken over areas, they're going to be going over here to Cyprus and Crete, Turkey and Greece. No, that's going to be the immediate after effect of this battle. So just think about that. And I think about that. I can't prove this or not, but you see Assyria pull a lot of these tribes that he can capture back into Assyria. Tiglath-Pileser does that. Anybody who's a refugee, they have this great sea system that's going on. So anybody who can is getting out here. And I just think about a lot of these refugees going up and establishing the libraries of Ephesus or some of the libraries in Greece, and you start to see the classical period of Greece start to be created right here, because this is right here where Iliad and the Odyssey are written. Iliad, Odyssey, also Works and Days by Hesiod. So you have Homer and Hesiod, and the classical period starts. But it's right here. And then you have the Pythagoreans, and well, all this technology is pushed out from Israel, and then I can't prove it. I just think there's an effect of the refugees having technology to those places that they went to, because right after these refugees go from the land of northern Israel, who has just been conquered, a bunch of them get on their ships and run over here. Some of them get to Greece and then and Turkey, and the places where it'd be the Western Turkey, where a bunch of these writings were originated in the West. So I think this is part of the creation of Western society. And it's just an idea that a lot of these refugees are going to come down here into Judah. So now Judah is going to get a lot harder to conquer. They're concentrated. The more people you have, the more soldiers you have, but you also have to feed them. But all those things are going to be happening right here at the same time when this expansion of Assyria goes on. And all those things are interesting. You have any thoughts like that? You can write them down into the comments, but I think this is incredible for the archaeology part of it and the biblical part of it. And when we understand the places and the people, we can really learn a lot. There's just one snapshot to see. Here's Hoshea, here's Pekah, and here's Pekahiah in the periodic table of history. And then Isaiah's in here. Yeah, Isaiah. And then Isaiah is a contemporary of Homer, Iliad and Odyssey, Homer, and Hesiod of the Greeks. See, and then so now we're getting down here in Judah, from Azariah to Jotham. That's the time. That's the pass down in Judah. But over in Israel, we see things are just getting worse and worse. And the only thing you have left is this King Hoshea that's right down here in the periodic table of history. So that gives us the geopolitical perspective, the timeline perspective. And I think it should, percolate a whole lot of ideas in our minds. But what does this teach you? Well, it's always free to like, comment, and subscribe. For more videos, check out the periodic table of history, and you might be able to get a video right over here. It'll be coming up. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.